Hey y'all, I grew up in the South. I've lived my whole life in the South, and you can see from the gray hair that it's been a long time. So, I want to talk a little about George Floyd. I want to talk about Black Lives Matter. I want to talk about the Seattle Chaz. And let's start right here. First and foremost, you see George Floyd. Now, what did he do? He supposedly paid for something with a counterfeit $20 bill, paid for cigarettes with a counterfeit $20 bill. Now, he walked back to his vehicle, nothing being said, took his cigarettes, went back to his vehicle. Then the cashier comes out, claims he paid with a counterfeit 20, wants the cigarettes and change back. Now, he had already left her sight. Now, I've had friends and family who have accidentally passed off counterfeit bills. Now, what happens when a white person does it is they hand the counterfeit bill to them. They mark it with a marker. Oh, this is counterfeit. This isn't real. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Well, here, let me pull out another one. They're given the benefit of the doubt. But think about it. If you had walked into a store and left that store and that 20 left your line of sight and you weren't able to see that 20 anymore, and then the cashier came out and said, the 20 you gave me was counterfeit. Now I want all the change and the product you purchased back, and I keep that 20. You'd have a problem with it. You wouldn't give that stuff back. You'd wait till the cops came and you'd argue your case. She could have switched that $20 bill while you weren't in there with the counterfeit 20. She could be running her own little side racket and you'd argue your case. But because he was black, he deserved, for some reason, to have a cop stand on his neck and kill him. Okay, oh, he had records. So what? There's no 3 strikes and a cop stands on your neck and kills you in the street law in the United States. Okay, if you think that's okay, then when you are looking at him, you are seeing a black man and thinking he is less than me and he doesn't deserve the same rights I do. Because if it was you, you'd expect the punishment to fit the crime. If you were going to die, then you'd expect it to be a capital offense you were dying over. You'd expect a jury of your peers. You'd expect to be sentenced. You'd expect to be able to file all your appeals and exhaust all your appeals before they ever flip that switch. But this officer killed him on a whim for nothing more than maybe passing a counterfeit bill. Doesn't matter if he has a record or not. We're talking about what happened. Oh, well, he had drugs in his system. Well, show me the drug test that the officer gave him before he killed him. Because if he didn't give him a drug test first and, oh, well, you got drugs in your system, I'm going to kill you, then it does not matter. Does not matter. Because he didn't know it. So why would it matter? Okay, look at Ahmaud Arbery. Look at Ahmaud Arbery. They released a video. Oh, he went inside a house that was under construction and looked around. Now, are you telling me that if they're building a house in your neighborhood, when those workers leave, you don't go in and look around? I know you do. Everybody does. As a matter of fact, the owner released a video later showing all these other people going in and doing the same thing, but they weren't hunted down and killed. What was the difference between them and him? The color of their skin. Okay, George Floyd said, I can't breathe. Who was the first to say that? Eric Garner. Well, what big crime did Eric Garner did? Supposedly selling loose cigarettes without a tax stamp. Are you kidding me? Selling loose cigarettes without a tax stamp and he got killed? choked to death? You know, Trump, oh, he can't stand the Chaz. Well, if you look at videos of Chaz, and if you see the drone videos and all this, the actual videos from people who are there, not what Fox is doctoring up and these other right wing, but the actual videos of the people that are there, and listen to what is actually happening there. You know, they're having their own little protests, their own talks, and they're having movie nights, and people are giving away stuff for free. People are selling hot dogs and stuff. You know what that sounds like? A hippie commune from straight out of the 60s. And Trump can't stand it, and, you know, claims they're setting fire to everything, which, if you look at the videos, nothing's on fire, nothing's damaged. Oh, they're setting fire to everything. But yet, you know, and it's an armed occupation, but yet, Trump pardoned the 2 farmers who set fire to federal lands and kicked off the armed occupation of the Oregon Wildlife Refuge. Trump pardoned those 2 guys. But yet he can't stand Seattle's Chaz. Well, what's the difference? Okay, you want to talk about, oh, well, you know, they should peacefully protest. Nobody should get violent, and there shouldn't be any violence, and they should peacefully protest. And, oh, don't burn tires in the street. That backs up traffic. And what you want is them to protest in ways that you can ignore, that don't discomfort you in any way. So you can sit in your little white bubble and claim that they have the same rights you have and that they're not being discriminated against. You don't have to think about it. That's what you want. But they've been protesting since the 50s, and they're still discriminated against. So I imagine they're pretty fed up. You know, and you want to talk about, oh, well, you know, they get violent, and I shouldn't be scared in my own house. You mean like the nurse who was sleeping and the cops broke in and killed her, and they had the wrong house, a no-knock order on the wrong house. You know how many no-knock orders are given in white neighborhoods? Because I've never heard of one. You mean afraid like that, though? So you're afraid for a night, maybe a week even. Yeah, you're afraid for a whole week. They're afraid every day they send their kids out that they won't be coming home tonight. They're afraid every time they see lights. And you're going to talk about being afraid for one night or a week because of their protest? That's ridiculous. And you know, I put the Black Lives Matter thing right here. And people want to say, oh, well, all lives matter. Well, they're dancing around the fact that they can't say Black Lives Matter because what they mean is all lives matter, but some matter more than others. You know, Colin Kaepernick, and by the way, if y'all had listened to Colin Kaepernick, we wouldn't be here today. Colin Kaepernick, oh, he took a knee. He was disrespecting the flag. You know who's disrespecting the flag? All those rednecks sitting there flying the flag of the Confederacy. Bunch of traitors who fired on and killed U.S. soldiers over their right to own slaves. Oh, well, it was over states' rights. Well, you look at their ordinances and articles of succession. You look at the speeches their governors and spokesmen gave. And you will see one reason given in every single instance except one state, North Carolina. North Carolina succeeded out of self-defense. The North was attacking them. Every other state, they gave a reason of slavery. Some such as Mississippi came straight out and said our cause is wholly tied to slavery. But they all said slavery was one of their reasons for secession. They all talked about how the North was treating the slave-holding states. Oh, well, it's part of my heritage. 4 years. And I bet you can't tell me all the states that seceded, when they seceded, all the battles that happened. None of that. All you can do is fly the flag of traitors who fired on U.S. soldiers and killed U.S. soldiers. And then Colin Kaepernick, oh, he's disrespecting the flag. No, you are. Colin Kaepernick was exhibiting and exercising his freedom that he got, that flag stands for. That's what Colin Kaepernick did. Colin Kaepernick was a patriot, still is. You know, this whole thing, you know, racists have learned to dance around what they really mean, but they still discriminate. This has been going on since the 50s. It has not changed. All that has changed is the language used. The new N-word is thug. You know, and they look for reasons to discriminate. Because they can't say the reasons they really want to, or they really feel, and that's the color of skin. So they look for reasons to, oh, he had a record, he deserved it. Well, if it was you, you wouldn't think you deserved it. You know, and, oh, well, blue lives matter. Well, and you want to talk about these good cops, okay? So a cop shoves down an old man, cracks his skull open. Okay, and they go to discipline that guy, and cops quit over it. All the other cops quit over it. Florida Police Union wants to hire him. So, and this plays out over and over and over again. Cop gets fired for discriminating. The police union gets him back on the beat. Or some other local area hires him. If there are good cops, I'm having a real hard time finding them. This is systemic. This is a problem. If it inconveniences you that they are protesting, then think of how inconvenienced they are that they're protesting. Think about that for a second. Because all of this, every bit of it, boils down to one thing. That we, meaning white people, have bought and sold them, kept them as property, then kept them from voting, still get them charges so we can keep them from voting, and discriminate against them to keep them down. That's what this is about. And until we face up to that and do something about it and level the playing field and make it to where they are not afraid to send their kids out into the world, to where they have opportunities just like we do, to where they are given the benefit of the doubt if they hand that cashier a $20 bill that turns out to be counterfeit. Until that happens, then the protests need to continue, because the problem is still there. and it's been there since the founding of this country.